Good evening. We'll call it 6 o'clock and open the meeting August 10th, 2022 Planning Commission. By sight, I can see we have all of our commissioners here. Draft minutes of July 13th and 20th are out. Anybody have any additions or changes? None being heard. Mr. Meismer, any correspondence other than the agenda items tonight?
Mr. Chair, no correspondence other than that related to items on the agenda.
Well, in that case, we're going to introduce you to the community to produce a Planning, Community, and Economic Development Department update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Take it away.
Members of the Commission and the audience, those at home anyway. So we've been talking about doing an Planning, Community, and Economic Development Department update now for quite some time. And we finally put that together. And this evening, I'd like to give the commissioners a presentation on how the department's doing and what we've got going on. And I'll throw a few dates at some of the things that'll be coming towards you in the future as well. So I thought we'd start off with some building permit stats. Our year-to-date, July 2022, total permits 461 with 543 issued. The total number of dwelling units are 61 with 52 issued. 20 new single families, 12 new cottages, 8 duplex units, 6 new ADUs, and 15 townhomes. So this slide actually gives you a bit better representation of what's been happening over the past couple of years. And so you can see in 2021, we had a pretty good year, even after COVID. 1,021 permits, 58 single families, 18 cottages, 13 ADUs, 52 townhomes. So it's worthwhile to pause here for just a second. Take a look at 2019 and 2020, no townhomes. And that's a direct result of the work that the planning commissioners did on the development regulations and your recommendation to City Council for allowing townhomes with certain standards in residential zones and many residential zones. So that right there shows that there are a variety of residences being constructed in Anacortes. To date, we only have 5 townhomes in 2022. Multifamily, we had 55 in 2020 and 21 in 2021, and then 8 commercial with dwelling units in one building. Our total land use permits, you can see again, 2021 was a pretty good year, and again, a direct result of the development regulation update. This is our land use permits, and so this covers home occupation permits, conditional use permits, clearing, boundary line adjustment, accessory dwelling units. And again, you'll see that in 2021, we had a considerable amount of boundary line adjustments at 24. And in comparison to 2022, we only have 3 so far, and we only have a couple of short plats. And so the total number in 2021, 111 and 45 in 2022 to date, although I'm fairly certain we're going to reach at least 100 land use permits before the end of the year. Code enforcement cases, so these are nuisance abatement issues. And the total number of cases in 2021 and 2022 are similar at 23. 11 closed in 21 and 12 still open. Those were shifted over into 2022. So we have 16 closed so far and 7 open. And this includes overgrown yards, unsafe structures, things like that. And we're currently working now very closely with the police department and the fire department on some of the situations that are occurring down on T Avenue or on abandoned homes that might become derelict homes or structures. And departures, this is something new for the planning department. The 2019 amendments to the development regulations allowed some departures in certain areas. And so we've only had 6 since the beginning of allowing departures, and that's for perimeter landscaping on 1015 18th, and that was the parking lot. They were able to get plenty of landscaping there, just used a little bit more of the right-of-way for it. The Samish tribe at 34th Street with their cottage development, I had a Wooner-style access driveway, fence location out on, I think that was Summit Park Road, and that was the gate, or fence, I'm sorry, that gateway frontage requires a 10-foot setback from the property line. They requested to put their fence on the property line and then landscape outside of the fence. Townhouses on 19th Street, open space with individual groupings. There's a requirement in the code that states that for your outdoor open space, it needs to be 15-foot minimum dimension in any direction. It's pretty hard for them to do that, but they were able to get more than was necessary in square footage. So that's something we may be coming back to the Planning Commission and City Council to consider changing that a little bit. Anacortes Family Center, mixed frontage setback from 27th Street and transparency standards. And again, 10-foot setback. The departure allowed them to go up to 5 foot and change that to some landscaping. SmartGov is our new software, permitting software and tracking software. We are right in the middle of execution and validation testing. Our folks are looking at what the permits are going to be like and what other information for reporting we might be able to get out of the software. So the most, I think, exciting portion of this new software for us is going to be the public portal. So you, as a community member, would be able to submit your application digitally over this system. Once it's submitted, you'll be able to track the progress of that permit and see where it's at in review. And we will be able to send our comments to you on that tracking mechanism. So you'll also be able to file a code complaint through this and track that as well. And we're hoping to go live by early fall with that system. And that will replace our archaic Eden system that we've had in place for over 20 years. So some of the legislative projects that we're looking at are the comp plan and development regulation amendments that were docketed back about 5 months ago. Those will be coming forward to the Planning Commission September, October timeframe. I don't have an exact date, so I'll just range it right in there. And there'll be a public hearing and public comment period on all those as well. So our next comp plan update is due in 2025. This coming year, we will be starting what's called the land capacity analysis. And we're looking at getting a consultant then to do that instead of doing it in-house. Shoreline's master program update to CC in August, September. We just got our third draft back from the consultant, and we sent that out for preliminary review this morning to City Council. We'll end up having another public hearing with the City Council and public comment period on that as well. September probably for that. Riparian corridors, riparian management zone. The Planning Commission has seen this once before, I think it was in July. We sent our draft copy off to the state, and they told us they were going to take the entire 6 months that they're allowed to review it. We're not going to get their comments back until September 6th, so we're somewhat on standby until we get those comments back, and we'll be bringing that back to the Planning Commission in October, hopefully for adoption at the City Council level end of October, early November. So to explain that a little bit better, Washington State Department of Commerce requires that any changes in development regulations come to them for review. They notify all the state agencies and they have an opportunity to comment. In this case, the Department of WDFW, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, decided they wanted to take more time and review it more thoroughly. Daycare 2 is an allowed use in the R4 use zone. Will be coming before the Planning Commission in September and then on to the City Council, and we've already had a quick look at that. Bonus site provisions in the R4 use zone study area. I'll be bringing that to the Planning Commission in September as well. Housing Action Plan, we have a draft existing conditions report, and we're looking at bringing that before the Planning Commission in November. We're still gathering a little bit more information for that Housing Action Plan and the existing conditions report. Tree preservation ordinance updates. We've not scheduled that yet. That's something that, with the update to the development regulations, we need to look at updating that as well. And with that, short-term rental research and code updates. As you know, right now, the code does not allow short-term rentals in any of the residential zones unless it's a conditional use permit under a bed and breakfast. And a lot of folks don't want to go through the conditional use permit process. It's a type 4 process, Planning Commission, City Council, and can be a little bit costly. Parklets, we need to establish some guidelines and regulations. We hope to start on that once we've finished a couple other items in here. Once we cut loose the riparian corridors and daycare, then we'll have some time to work on that and short-term rentals, hopefully. Excuse me. Our tourism strategic plan needs an update. We'll be working on that towards the later part of this year. And the special event process update. Special events such as the Arts Festival. The city issues permits for that through a specific process. We now have a event trailer, we call it. It has all of the barricades and pylons in it and signage. And so we just need to get some policies in place for how we are allowing folks to use those without any payments. We currently issue a key to them along with a checklist, and they put everything out, and then if they lose something, they're required to pay for it. Potential code items to review and update. Sign regulations. Sign regulations, right now there are a couple of areas there that are, well, let's say they need more clarification. One of them is for when you have a temporary event sign for grand openings, and you may have noticed the flag on 12th by the vape shop. You got like 7 flags out there. I don't know, personally I think they only need 2. But that's something I want to bring to the Planning Commission for review and then eventually to City Council. Block frontage requirements from commercial to O and commercial to Q. Look at that. Right now, it's a mixed block frontage from 13th south. What that does is it potentially puts a barrier on businesses that want to develop on that half block area of not being able to build to the property line like those that are on the other side do. And so that's something I think we need to look at. Existing medical office expansion in Old Town. Currently, you're allowed to expand an existing medical office in the R3, R3, R4, R4A, but not in Old Town. I think there's only 2 medical office buildings in the Old Town area, but that's worth taking a look at. We had a concerned citizen bring that up. Landscaping, plan to be developed by landscape architects for more than 10,000 square feet. We're thinking we might want to raise that to 15 in the LM1 use zone and the HM use zone, larger developments out there, stuff like that, and try to allow some of the architects to do some of their own work instead of having a landscape architect. More specific standards for recycle, solid waste, and food waste for multifamily townhomes, pad specifications and orientation, and most importantly, when are totes allowed for multifamily or townhomes and stuff like that. A good example of that is we had a couple of developers who said, okay, well, we've got 10 townhomes here and we're going to use totes for every one of these units. So think about that, 10 townhomes, 2 totes each unit minimum. There's 20 totes out in the street for the sanitation guys to pick up. Kind of messy, maybe. Clarify standards for retaining walls more than 5 feet and how to measure when terraced, use of ecology blocks in Jersey areas or sculpted blocks. Currently, it's not real clear on how to look at a retaining wall where you have one that comes up 5 feet, steps back 2 feet, up another 5 feet, step back 2 feet, and up another 5 feet. So we want to clarify how that's supposed to be measured. Clarify that conduit for fiber is required in all new developments. We do have a couple of code sections that requires it, but we need more clarity on that. Clarify the distinction and applicability of certain parts of Division 6, which is the block frontage that we spoke about a little earlier, to townhouse developments. It's, like I say, it just needs clarification. Further clarification on how ADUs can be created and address the ownership. The commissioners may remember that during the code rewrite, we talked about ownership on ADUs, and the owner of the property has to live in one or the other. We've had a lot of questions from folks about potentially dropping that ownership, and the state has been trying to address that for the past 2 years as well through legislation. And address tent structure setbacks currently allowed in the side and rear setbacks with no minimum. So you can't put it in the front yard, but you can put it in the side yard, and there's no minimum setback to a side yard. That can really like cut off light to your neighbor's house and can be a problem if there's a fire in that tent structure or metal structure. The fun part, some project updates for you. So the one on the left over here, that's the Skagit co-housing. That's 30 units. It's much further along than what this picture actually shows now. The one on the right, that's Strandberg Crosswind Cottages. That's 18 units. It's out on Anacortes Mine Road. Strandberg Townhomes on Sunset. There are 20 units, and they're fairly complete at this point. And then we have the Elevation 31 townhomes on 21st and Q. That's 14 units, and they're pretty well complete as well. The 32nd and R townhomes, that's 10 units at 50%. Anacortes Housing Authority has 5 townhomes on 19th Street, and those are coming along very well. They're just about done. This is the MJB site at Q and 17th, and it goes over to 22nd. Now they're continuing road and utility construction, completion by the end of 2022 with the first lift of paving, and then they're going to phase development activity from that point on. We're currently working on platting with the lots, and right what you see here now is an erosion control measures in place, and it's basically like a wood mulch with a tackifier and seed in it. And so as we start getting more rain, then you'll see more grass out there, and it's following best management practices that are set out by the Department of Ecology. Again, some site grading there at MJB. And when they first got started on the property out there, we knew that they were going to be removing the 2 towers they had, so we required that they establish a pole and nesting area for the osprey that have been using that. While this one is more temporary, they'll be looking at 2 sites in the future with permanent aluminum poles and a more permanent platform on it as well. And to build on that just a little bit, the commissioners will be seeing the subdivision plat and the Shorelines Master Plan permit coming forward here probably around 4 months from now. We're just now in the preliminary review process with it at a staff level. And this is the conceptual site plan that you all saw during the comprehensive plan process. It's about 31 acres, marine mixed use zone. The heights in that area are from 35 feet to 65 feet with the bonus height. And they will have a shoreline restoration plan going forward, along with a esplanade that connects from 22nd Street all the way over to the port property. That'll be about a 12-foot esplanade with a 30-foot easement, new vegetation on the shoreline, and a couple of pocket parks here and there. So again, though, this is just conceptual. Some other projects, the Majestic Inn, you probably noticed that their addition is pretty well done, and in fact, it's in use at this point. 904 32nd, 5 townhomes will be going up there. And then you have the Lang mixed-use building, 8 units plus office space, and it looks a lot better than this picture right now. They just started painting it last week. Doggo Flats is the 25 units, and then the Anacortes Family Center completed units on 26. And some permits that have been issued or in review but haven't really got started yet. The Samish low-income cottages on D Avenue, those are 15 units. The Samish Child Learning Center on D Avenue, it's a little over 4,000 square feet, and it will accommodate right around 40 children. The Anacortes Family Center office at 2702 Commercial, and they've just got foundation started. And the Anacortes Family Center, 21 units and about 4,000 square foot of early learning facility, and that's also right around 40 children. Islands Inn conversion, you may have saw the article in the newspaper on that. That'll go to, it's going to be renamed San Juan Apartments, 3401 Commercial, and that's 38 low-income units per the owner. Correct. Yeah, we'll go with that. Thank you. So a little bit of our economic development. One of the areas that the city has an investment in is the Sharps Corner property out SR20 at the SR20 intersection there to Whidbey. And so this was a conceptual drawing some years ago, which would include mixed use. So we're looking at developing a marketing strategy for that. And as of Tuesday, we had a meeting with the City Council Economic Development Committee, and we're beginning those discussions on what that marketing strategy is going to look like. Complete an economic development strategic plan with stakeholders. So we've been working with EDASC on that. And we just got, as a matter of fact, today, an outline from EDASC on the path moving forward in developing that plan. So I think you all will probably see that in the months to come. It could be 4 to 6 months, but you all will see that and also provide some input into it. Continue work with the newly formed Downtown Alliance Main Street program. Tourism promotion funds availability. So this is something that the city facilitates every year. The 2023 funding cycle is underway for events. We're hoping that we can get some new events in the shoulder season, January, February, March, October, November, December. You can pick up the application at this website here or contact Joanne Stewart or myself at 293-1907. These funds are used for things like the car show downtown, the Waterfront Festival, Arts and Crafts Festival gets a little bit of funding. The Chamber gets some funding for marketing. So it's very beneficial. Anacortes Music Project is also funded by lodging tax funds. Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG. Every year we get somewhere around $115,000, and this is what we use it for. City Council determines, the actual use. Public services for the Family Center, about $15,000 each year. This Family Center for their new landing project got $85,000, and then the Housing Authority got $89,000 as well in 2022 for their major rehab and re-roof project. So this is the team, and I think they all do a great job, and proud to be part of that team. So with that, I don't have anything other to share with you all. If you have some questions, I'd be happy to try and answer those.
Any commissioners have questions or comments?
Don, thank you. Excellent proposal, or presentation all the way around. I really enjoyed reading it and looking at the numbers. The question I have is, with our development, some of it as scattered as it is, how often do we interact with or bring transit into the equation to look at the type of development? For example, the Sharps Corner development, when you look at that original concept, that was the one that bothered me the most. Every one of those building pads could be located anywhere. They had no relationship to one another in that site. And I was wondering how either transit comes or transit-oriented development comes to help bind that together, or some kind of internal connections, whether it's pedestrian transportation or pedestrian facilities or some kind of interconnected roadway system that brings those developments so that they're interactive. One reason I ask that is I worked with a development several years ago, and a very large one. We found out that 50% of all traffic in the area associated with the development was simply moving between parking lots.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to find a way of solving that problem.
Well, thank you. So, glad you mentioned that. It's a great question. Sharps Corner project especially is one that we're going to have to coordinate very closely with transit, because right now it currently has no stops, nothing. There is nothing that goes through there. And the goal is that it would be a high-density, multifamily, mixed-use site. And to do that, we're going to have transit. Interestingly, I did get an email today from SCOG, the Skagit Council of Governments, and they actually do regional transit planning and transportation planning. And they're putting out a survey to talk about human services transportation. And so I hope to participate in that, as well as sending it to you all and the council and getting it on our website, our city website. So you'll probably see more on that here to come.
I'm sorry I interrupted your presentation, but going back to that point, did you respond by saying you would answer the question, is that going to be low-income housing, or is it just going to be affordable small unit housing?
Let me say that when we first started working with the applicants, their exact words were affordable housing. It is now smaller units, more affordable.
Okay. So that's not necessarily low income then?
No.
Okay. And then one other question. On the MJB, is there any kind of a timeline? Is that a 6-year project, now that they're finally started? Is that 7 or 8 years to fully develop that, or what's the timeline for condos, apartments, retail, an event center?
So, no, MJB site, we don't have a timeline planned on that yet. Once we get through the subdivision process and the shorelines permitting processes, each of those will include conditions that are recommended by the Planning Commission, you all, and then approved by City Council. And those conditions are going to establish timelines for instance, the public amenities, the trail, the shoreline restoration, things like that. And what we're right now working on with them is trying to establish phases. You know, okay, we're going to start over here first, here next, here, and here. So we haven't got that worked out yet.
I guess I lied. I have one more question then. There's a 12,000 square foot event center on that site, right kind of in the middle.
I'm sorry?
That event center, 12,000 square feet.
Yeah, we
How
don't.
big is the transit shed, for example, just in my mind? Is that a future,
So we're working with the MJB right now on a temporary event center to fill the gap when we lose the transit shed. And there are a couple of buildings on site now. We're just trying to figure out what it's going to cost to convert them. As far as where that event center ends up permanently, the whole idea is that it would be event center / convention center / motel. If I had the contacts, would certainly give Hilton a call and put a pitch in for it, but I don't have any contacts at Hilton.
thank you.
Can you go to slide 6, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you go to slide 6, please? I'm sorry, I think it maybe is the next. Either way, it was the one where you talked about in 2021, there were 52 applications, and I think it was for condos or for townhouses, and this year there have been 5. Yeah, slide 3, thank you.
So, yeah, so this one talks about the townhome units, and we have 52 in 2021.
Yeah, so my question was, in your judgment, is the difference between 2021 and 2022 because the zoned land that is available for townhouses has been used and there's not much left, or is the market just not there? I mean, there's a big difference between 52 and 5. So is there just not any land use opportunities left?
No, there are opportunities left.
So what would you attribute that big difference to?
Yeah, so from what I can see happening, the townhouse units that were, permits that were issued in 2021, the folks are still finishing those up, and we've got a few new ones in 2022. I suspect we'll end up with probably around 25 total in 2022. It's just that the contractors or developers that are building those, they're just busy right now. So, and I will admit that it has slowed down a little bit. I am aware of a couple of contractors who have lost contracts because of the rates going up lately. So folks may be
bankers.
just kind of watching.
Darn bankers.
Tell you. So what I'd like to do is do one of these updates about every quarter. The council would appreciate that, and I'm sure you all would as well. And if you all think of something that I'm missing or that you would like to have in your update, shoot me an email, let me know.
Based on the input from other commissioners, I think making sure that we have sort of a roadmap or a timeline for when the various issues are expected to come to the commission would be helpful, I think. Make sure that we're sort of up to speed and ready to go on things when they're hitting our table here.
Absolutely. And so I've been working with our team to establish a calendar that we'll send out to you all. And that calendar will have the various projects that we're looking at and then the expected dates coming for the Planning Commission.
We certainly understand that there are delays, such as the state taking a maximum review time, but that would be helpful to know that those things are happening when those changes occur.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking about the MJB project and the questions. The motivation to get the project completed is still there, right? This is not an opportunity perhaps taken by the developer to slow things down because of maybe costs or anything like that. I think, you know, considering the sensitivity of that area and the fact that it seemed like such a huge win to get them started, you know, I'd hate to think that things are going to slow down now and just kind of trickle instead of, you know, continuing, not maybe a quick drumbeat, but at least a steady one. I think the relationships that you have are still there and things are positive and moving forward.
In my opinion, things are positive and moving forward. We have been meeting, and when I say we, I mean the mayor and myself, meet with MJB on a every 2-week basis. And so, yeah, they're interested in moving forward. One of the things that they are doing is meeting frequently with potential anchor tenants. And once we get that anchor tenant in there, things are going to start to move pretty rapidly, I think. They've also been talking with a couple of folks who are interested in developing townhomes on the site, as well as an assisted living center.
You know, there's a lot of potential there. And I want to say 3, 4, 5 months ago, I thought I read an article in the paper that suggested that already the list of interested future tenants in those places had almost gotten to the point where there was no more availability. So I know there's excitement, and I know there's people that want to take advantage once it happens. Hopefully it'll happen sooner than later, right?
That's my hope as well. we're working towards that goal.
All right, any other comments or questions? Is there any old business or anything to add for the good of the order? With that, we will bring the meeting to a close. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Meismer.